What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to The Gist of It. And today we are going to be talking about the topic of if YouTube actually matters. And what I mean by that is that if you put tons of time into it, if you invest money into equipment, if you buy a really nice camera, if you practice your articulation and you become really good at speaking, or you can do some kind of incredible radio voice or something along that, whatever you practice at and whatever you strive for here on YouTube, does it actually matter when it comes down to making a career path for yourself, creating a portfolio? Do these things actually matter? And I feel like this is a very important topic to cover because of the kind of community that we have on the internet today. When I first got onto YouTube, I was of course an audience member. I think I really started to get into YouTube because of the comedy stuff that was found on like Machinima, the montages they would make, and then I would watch some Call of Duty channels. There was one called Woody's Gamertag, still watch his podcast, PKA. But it really did form who I was as a person and who I was as a content creator. But of course I was making nothing back then, as the majority of people weren't making stuff. Of course, there is still an unfair ratio, or an uneven ratio. I don't think there's any fairness here, but there is still an uneven ratio of people that are taking in content as compared to the people that are producing content, and that's how it's always going to be, because this does take effort, this does take time, this does take money to make it happen, and so that's always going to be a thing. But over the course of the past 5 years, the price of professional grade cameras, or at least cameras that are professional enough to get you by, has dropped drastically. I mean, if you invest, I would say $120 into a little Sony Handycam, you can pretty much make a YouTube channel, and if you just teach yourself just a little bit of the most basic photo editing, you can pretty much get by and, grow an audience doing it. I mean, I've had no professional training, I've had no kind of class, I've had nothing other than a computer and some funds that I can buy a couple of cameras with, and lo and behold, here I've made this that you see today. With this lower cost comes the question of, is content creation a viable career for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Are you going to be able to support yourself in the same way that you are now? For instance, if you become an overnight YouTube sensation and all of a sudden you have millions of subscribers and you have a lot of money coming in, is that going to be a continuing trend for the next 3 to 4 decades for you, so that you can build up enough funding to retire, so that you can, pay off your house, pay off your car payment, do all of these things that you have to do throughout life? Or is it always going to be a hobby? Can you actually, be a content creator for a full-time living for the rest of your life? That's something that we haven't really been able to experiment with. Of course, you can do it in the short term, and even 5 to 10 years has been proven to be, doable, but we don't even have the kind of time frame necessary to see if you can do it for 30 to 40 years. Is the YouTube channel even going to be there in 30 years? Probably not. We just don't really know. And so there's a lot of uncertainty there. On top of that, you have people like myself that use YouTube as more of a portfolio. I never really expected to become an independent content creator for the rest of my career, and I still don't expect that whatsoever. But the fact of the matter is, on my YouTube channel, I have almost 1,000 videos that show an entire spectrum of me learning how to do YouTube, how to make content. You see the very beginning, where I was using nothing more than an iPad camera and the onboard mic that's built into an iPad. It sounds absolutely abysmal. And then as time goes on, I get better mics, I get better cameras, I figure out what I'm doing, I kind of shift my content from gaming to talking about gaming. And as you see me kind of grow as a content creator, you see me learn more skills, and you see it become the channel that it is today, that I would say actually puts some of the bigger channels, gives them a run for its money. I'm proud of what I've made. And so with that, I have kind of a portfolio that I built up. And so that right there is what I was wondering about this week. Is the portfolio that I've been spending 5 years of my life to create, is it worth something? Does it have worth in the professional world? Is it going to get me a job? And that's pretty much what I was facing this week whenever I went to the Career Center at my college. So I walk into the Career Center, I sit down with this very nice gentleman, and he asked me what my major is, all the, the credentials and things like that. So I'm a communications major, junior, minoring in journalism, focusing in mass media, that kind of thing. And he said, so what have you done? And I told him about all of the streaming that I'd done on Twitch. I told him about all the YouTube stuff. I told him about the social media management that comes with running a YouTube channel. I told him about every aspect of what I've been doing over the course of the past 4 or 5 years, and I told him that I had almost made 1,000 videos. I've professionally, in my opinion, edited the majority of them, and so I have a pretty good repertoire of things that I can show to an employer. And so after he sat down and looked at what I had done, and after he kind of evaluated it, he actually said something along the lines of, not an exact quote, but he said something along the lines of, the stuff that you have done, the work that you do, matters more than the degree that you are actually going to get. The work proves that you have some kind of work ethic. The work proves that you have some kind of drive. The degree just proves that you went to college, and in today's society, anybody can go to college with enough loans or funding. But the work that you've done, the skills that you have taught yourself, the channel that you have made, that shows employers, that shows content creators that you have something that other people don't necessarily have. And he actually told me, he said, as far as communications majors go, you're more prepared than, I would say, 99% of them. And that's crazy. So with all that being said, from the current standings of content creation online to how I started my YouTube channel to why I do what I do today, all of that is to say that if you are somebody out there that is wanting to create content for a living, that is wanting to get into the entertainment industry, that is wanting to be behind the camera, to be on the camera, if you are in any kind of communication, creative kind of field, one of the best things that you can do is just get out there and make stuff. Just teach yourself a skill, capture something on a camera, talk on the camera, figure out something that you want to do with the rest of your life and practice that as much as possible. Because when it comes down to it, if you're just, sitting there playing Xbox in the middle of the day waiting to write a paper for a class, that paper isn't going to matter. But something that you could make with that spare time instead of playing Xbox is going to matter, and that's what's going to get you the job in the long run. It's also worth putting in here that you can blaze your own path. You don't have to follow something that I've done. You don't have to follow something that someone else has done. I don't have to follow what other people have done. It's a very open world out there, and you just kind of make your own way, and if you try hard enough, you can definitely get to where you want to be. But when it comes down to it, you just have to do something, especially if you are in the field of content creation. You just have to create and prove yourself. And that's pretty much what I learned this week. And I almost forgot. That's pretty much the gist of it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you on Friday. Have a fantastic latter half of the week. Peace.